Today I'm going to show you how to send triggered emails with Wix using Velo. What's up, you guys? Thanks for tuning in with your boy Nino from Creatively Nino. I got a tutorial for you guys today on sending triggered emails following a visitor's input on a form. It's pretty cool. It's a little challenging, but overall, I think you're really going to like it. And if you like it, hey, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss another Wix tutorial like this one. So let's jump in and check this thing out. All right, first, let me start by saying triggered emails is an advanced and powerful tool that Wix has to offer for us, guys. And with the triggered emails, you can send your visitors personalized emails in specific scenarios. And before I actually hop into the code, let me go ahead and share with you where it is located on your Wix dashboard. All right. So as you can see right here, we are on the triggered email dashboard, but normally you would come to your home, okay? And then if you come to your home, you'll actually be at your home site here, okay? So this will be your home dashboard. Well, you come down here to developer tools, and then you come to triggered emails, all right? So now that we're on our dashboard here, what we wanna do is head on over to our developers tools. All right, so we click triggered emails. Then this will take us to our triggered emails dashboard. Okay, this will show you all of the information that you actually need to know about. All right, so this shows you all of the different emails that you have put together. And this is definitely better than Wix automations because you have full customization with this tool. Okay, so it's easy and simple. All you have to do is just come up to create new, and then you create a new template. Right now, I'm not gonna go ahead and create new because I already have a example template right here. All right, so what this triggered email dashboard is that you can come up to edit details, and this will give you your sender details right here, okay? So your sender details will give you your from name and then also reply email too. Just make sure that when you go to your edit details, it's gonna tell you exactly what you need to do in order to make this email right here become available for usage, okay? So it will actually send a confirmation email out to your email that you put right here for the reply to email, and then it will confirm that that email does exist. Once it confirms that email exists, then you head on over to your triggered email template. All right. So let's go ahead and check this thing out. So this is the dashboard and this is what it gives you options here. Okay, these are your options to view it. This is your options to duplicate this email template or even just to delete it if you don't want to use it anymore. So as you can see here, we have our sent, we have our views, and we have our clicks here. This is the code snippet if you want to actually include variables onto your template. And I'll get into that in just a few seconds. All right, and then also you can check your stats, okay? So these stats will actually show you more details about which visitor has been sent an email, and then also which visitor viewed that email and which visitor clicked inside that email, okay? So you can actually check that out on the check statistics. As you can see, I have other ones here, and this is definitely a caveat. I'm actually going to talk to you guys about that in a future tutorial about how you can create this whole subscribers database, okay? And this whole subscribers trigger email, all right? Say for instance, you want to just go ahead and view this. If you do click here and view it, this actual view counter will go up. So that will skew your views, okay? So just make sure that you know that when you're going in here and you're clicking these options and you're actually clicking view, that will count your views up. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead in here and edit this thing. Let's see what it looks like. All right, so this actually gives you all of these different types of element details, okay? I'm not gonna go really into each and every detail here, but Wix gives you a lot of options and elements here and themes and backgrounds in order to customize your email accordingly, okay? So as you can see here, we have the subject line, and then we can add a variable for that subject line. That's if you want to make it more of a personal touch when people are being sent and email. Okay, so that will be in the subject line, and it can say, hey, Nino, or hey, whatever your name is, or the specific email to your account, or what have you. Whatever you have set up for the trigger emails to send, you can actually put that personal touch right there. Okay, and as you can see here, I just came from a base template here. This is all of the base template. What I want to share with you guys is how you can put this variable in here. So if we just click inside this text, okay, what we can do here is put another variable here, and we're just going to come over here and click add variable. Once we add variable, it will ask us for the name and also the fallback value. Okay, this is an optional value. It doesn't have to show up. So this could be where we say email, right? And then also we can put nothing here so that then nothing shows up. But in other cases, if you click add, you'll see that it adds it to your paragraph here. Okay, now if we go ahead and click on here and take it out, all right, all you have to do is press the backspace, or you can press delete. All right, and then once you have that, if you want to see this right here, I will show you this example. So if it says hi name one, okay, so this is what I'm naming it. Okay, name one, just for repeatable purposes. But in this case, we're just going to keep it simple. Name one means like that's your name. All right, and then the fallback value here is there. Okay, so that means it would actually say, hi there, thank you for sending over your email, if it didn't have a name connected to it. And then also we have our contact information. So our fallback is going to say our website, okay, if it doesn't have a contact one variable in the code. All right. And also here is a little snippet. I just wanted to put that out here, is that when you come over here to your add button here, or any type of image or anything that you can put a URL in here, what you want to do here is, if you want to create a variable that can be masked as a button here, as you can see, this is a button, and we're going to say here home. All right, and then if we want to put a link here, okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to put the $sign here, and then also we're going to put curly brackets, okay? Then we're going to put whatever we want to call that variable name. So in this case, I'm going to say link one. So I'm going to click out of this input box here. And as you can see, it automatically notices it's a variable, all right? So then we just click apply. So now we have home, and then also we have that variable link inside of the button. Isn't that pretty neat? So all you need to do is put your link into that area in the code, and you should be good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and save and publish this, all right? Usually you will have a save and draft, or actually a preview test here. But in this case, I've already created this, so I don't have those options right there. So I'm just going to save and publish. All right. Once we save, just know that any type of changes that you guys make will alter the effect of what it represents for your visitors on your website. So just make sure that everything is connected in Velo by Wix for any type of changes. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to click save here. And then also it gives us our email ID. So this is very important in the future, what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and make sure that we can copy this. But also, if you want to customize this email ID for whatever reason, you can just click on it and then label it the way that you want to label it. All right. Right now, I'm just going to keep it as that email ID, that randomly generated ID. And then also you can see here that it gives you the code in order to create this email new contact or email site members. Okay. So as you can see, you could just click here to copy that and just, tap right in. So all we have to do now is just go ahead and click got it. All right. So let's go ahead and click got it. Now that we got it, now you can see that our email has updated up here, and as you can see, we still have that email ID here. All right, and then also we have our code snippet. So if we forgot what that code snippet was, all we have to do is click here, and we would get that information back here in this nice pop-up. All right, so let's go ahead and say got it. I'm going to switch right back on over to the website so that we can get into this coding. All right, so now we're back on our editor. So now that we're on our editor's page, now if you're wondering how we got this code developers mode in process here, what you want to do here is come up to development mode and then turn the dev mode on, okay? This will actually give you guys this certain look here, and it will show you all of your information that you need for this tutorial. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and share with you guys the different elements that I have here. So real quick, I have a multi-state box here, and the reason I have a multi-state box is so that we can flip through the different types of states in this multi-state box. All right, as you can see, I flip back and forth from state 1 to state 2, and that was easy and simple. All right, but how to find these multi-state boxes? It's only if you're in your development mode, okay? Some of these things are hidden if it's not in the developers mode. All right, so you have to go to developers mode, then you come to the add button here, and then we'll come down to where it says box. All right, so we hit box, and then also you can see it says multi-state box here. It gives you different options of a preloader or banners or an empty state or just a blank one, okay? So you can go ahead and drag that thing over this way. Now I have an input variable here, so you can actually come over here to add, and then you can come down to you see input, and then I have a text input box here. So that is what I'm using right there. And then also I'm using a button right here, and then you could just come over to buttons, and then you can use your theme buttons, drag that sucker over, and then place it right into here. So those are the variables that I'm actually using, the elements that I'm using. And then also these are 2 buttons here. So you can really customize your button the way you want. And then also have a text here for saying thanks for subscribing. And then email has sent. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the code. All right, this is where the juicy stuff comes in. All right, so now that I have my page code here, as you can see, it's very simple, but it's simple on the page code, okay? Now that we're doing this big trigger email stuff, we're going to be using the backend code as well. And how you get to that backend code is by coming up here to your public and backend. Okay, so as you can see here, I have my button on click here. So whenever someone puts in that input here, I'm not actually doing any type of validation to check and see if this is an email address or if it has something in here. This is just going to run, and it's just going to give us a confirmation that the email has been sent to that visitor. Right now, I won't go into that, but in other tutorials, I do go into validations and how to actually create validations. So I'll actually give you guys a quick little dump in the right hand corner as I speak right now. Different tutorials that I've done in the past that include validations for the input. All right, so this is just to show you guys how the trigger email stuff works. So what I did here was I'm grabbing the email. All right, so that's our input value. As you can hover over top of it or click on it, you will see that it says input. All right, so I want to grab that input and value inside of that input element. All right. What I want to do now is I want to run that trigger email. Okay, so I'm going to run that here. And essentially, I need to go ahead and put in a sync. That way, I can wait for this to return my results. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say await. And then it's going to return my results. And then I'm going to set here this to a if statement. So if something returns, then mark that as it's been sent. All right, and I'll go into a little bit more of the backend in a few. Once that confirms to us that the email has been sent out to that email that you provided in that input, or the visitor provided in the input, then you can go ahead and change that state. And to change that state, you're going to change it to state 2, which will say, thanks for subscribing, email has sent. All right, and we're going to go ahead and put that button here so that they can exit out of it if they want to. All right, and so that is what I'm doing here. I'm going to nullify that value. Okay, so that means it just empties out the whole entire element. And then also I want to reset the validation indication in case if it's like required to put a email in there, you can actually go ahead and do that. Well, let's go ahead and do that now. Like I feel really bad for not putting a validation in here for you guys. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. All right, so we're going to just go ahead and come to our input, and we're going to go to settings, and we're going to come down here. It's required. Okay, great. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to say if input to dot valid, then it's going to give us something back. All right, so if it's valid, then proceed. The basic validity indication is just to see if there was something there. Okay, so we set this type up as the email, and then it's just checking to see if that email is there. If it's valid, then it will proceed through to the send trigger, and then we'll reset the validity indication here. All right, and then also I put this timeout here so that then after 15 seconds, if someone doesn't click on those buttons here, as you can see, that's button 4 and button 3, and that's on our state 2. So button 3 and button 4 here, if nobody clicks on that, then it's going to actually change that state back to state 1. All right, and then if someone does click on that X button here, then it's going to clear that timeout. But if 15 seconds goes by, so this is 15 seconds, all right, if 15 seconds go by, then it's going to change that back to state 1, so that then if they want to put in another email address, they can. So let's go back to state 1. All right, let's get back into the backend coding. All right, so definitely check out my website. I just want to put this caveat in there. Check out my website. I have the code there, so it'll be easy enough for you guys to follow along, because I'm going to try and blaze right through this so that we can actually show this thing to work. All right. So as you can see here, I am actually calling in this import. All right, so this is import all as run, and I'm getting it from the backend from my dev folder, my examples folder, and then also from my JavaScript workbook. All right, so here what we want to do here is find that. Let's go ahead and say dev and then examples, and then as you can see, we have flow right here. All right, so we're going to go into that JavaScript workbook, and then also you can see that I'm importing information from the same exact location, but it's a different file. So this is going to be a JS file here. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and call that. All right, so this is from another tutorial that I've done, so I'm going to put that in the right hand corner as I speak right now, but this is showing you guys how you can get information from your databases, and it's pretty neat, and I really enjoyed doing that tutorial, so check it out. All right, so for this, we're going to just deal with trigger emails, and then we're going to set that email to a string. All right, so this is just telling the function here that this is going to be a string parameter, and it needs to be sent through to this default and send email. All right, so I'll show you guys how I set that up in just a few. So let's go ahead and head on over to that. Right now, I'm going to put in a sync here, because again, we're going to await for this information to be sent back over. So we got to wait patiently. All right. So we're going to get that information from GTF, and then we're going to go to get flow, and we're going to review this code. All right. So like I said before, this is just from another tutorial that I did, so check that out. It grabs all of the contents. It's pretty cool, pretty dope. And yeah, just check it out. Like I said, I put it in the right-hand corner, so check it out in that information location. All right, so now let's go ahead and import the Wix CRM backend. This is very important for what I'm going to show you guys on how to create this trigger. Now, the way that I went about this here is I created an object. All right, so I created this object and I set it up that way so that then it could be easy enough to reference all of my functions in here without having to have it spread out along the exporting a function, right? So we don't have to export every single function. We can just call into one single function that's within this object, and then we can perform all of those specific tasks. All right, so I just put it in this format, but you guys can actually put it in the export function format as well. So it's just giving you guys variety. I'm just doing it this way just to show you guys how you can make it diverse. All right, so I named this object trigger, and then also I named this thing contact. All right, So this is essentially what Wix does on the back end. So if this says Wix CRM backend, is initially what they're doing is they're saying, okay, let's go ahead and get it from this function or method. And this is what I'm doing. I'm creating a method, trigger, and going to contact. And then what I'm doing here is I'm going to create a function called get. And this get gets the contact's ID. All right. So we're going to create a contact, which will go to wixcrm.contacts and append or create a contact based on our contact info. This will then return our contact ID. All right. So we'll return our contact ID based on this criteria that we're setting to. So we're setting this to the main email. All right. And then also we want to email the contact, right? So I set it up in this way that we create a function where we get the options, which those are the variables that we were talking about. So the name one, the contact one, the link one, that is the variables that we saw. And I'll put it in the right side here. So basically those are the variables that we put into our trigger email. All right. So that is what's going to be called back here. So I'm just making a basic function here so that then it can capture the contact's ID, which we're setting that to a string. And then also we're going to get the variables. All right. So this is the way that it's going to push out. All right. So this is Wix CRM backend, and we're going to go to trigger emails and we're going to go to email contact. Okay. What we do there is we put in that trigger email ID. All right. And then we put in our contact's ID. So the visitor who put in their email address up here. And then also we're going to put in those options, which is their name or their contact or their link. All right. So if that all goes through and it goes to this .then method, then we're going to return that as true because the email has sent. All right. If it did not send or something happened to this whole entire function here, it's going to catch that error and we're going to show that error and then also the placement of where that error happened in your stack message. All right. And then we're going to return false. Okay. So let me just go right back to our page real quick just to show you guys what is going to be returned. All right. So just like I said before, it's going to find what is in send trigger. Okay. So what we're sending back to the send trigger is a true false Boolean. All right. So if it's true, it's going to go through this statement here. And if it's false, we're going to just go ahead and put something there to show an error message. Okay. I'm not going to go into that because that is up for you guys. I'm just trying to make this tutorial as quick as I can. All right. So let's go ahead over here. Let's actually get into the meat of it. All right. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to send email. All right. So I'm going to send email. This send email is an actual function that I created. So this is a function that is a sync that will wait for this .contact.get email. Okay, so that means that out of this whole entire object right here, trigger, inside that object, I'm calling itself. Okay, I'm calling its, other parameters that it has in itself. All right, so I say this .contact.get, which will go right here. And then we're going to put in that email. All right. That string of an email. Okay. So once I do that, it's going to send me back a contact ID. I'm going to check to see if that string of that contact ID is greater than 0. Okay. The length of it. If it is greater than 0, that means it didn't go to this default or this or statement, which is a blank. That is because if this does not work out, this Wix CRM contacts and it actually creates that contact. And if it doesn't create that contact and it fails, then it will go to this or and actually push out a blank. All right. So then it will push out a blank here. And then that way it will skip this whole entire if conditional statement. And then it will say contact ID error, and then it will return false. All right. So that way you know exactly where something went wrong. All right, so now let's go ahead and get into when it goes right. All right, so we get the contact ID and then we want to set up the variables. All right, so what we're doing here is we're saying name1 is email.split at the @ symbol. All right, so this gets the left of the @ symbol, all right, of the email address so that we can at least like acknowledge the first part of that and say that's their name. All right. We're not going to put it into the contact ID as their name, but for this tutorial purposes, I'm just showing you guys how you can use your variables and how to connect them to your triggered email. All right. And then also we're going to say this is contact@yourdomain.com. Okay. So we can put that contact there for that email. And then also we can say link 1. All right. Remember what I said about how we could embed that link into that button? Well, this is where we're going to be doing that right here. Okay. So let's go ahead and put in bit.ly creatively Nino. All right. So that's the actual link to my website. All right. So to my website to see this tutorial and also the needed code that you need to follow along here with. All right. And then also once that is done, once we set those variables, we're going to send this object over to that contact and email that contact because we already have the contact ID and then also we have the variables. All right. So we're going to put that vars in there, and that's what goes into this object called variables, which goes to options, and we set that into our triggered email when we're emailing the contact. All right. Now there are two things here, like we saw in the trigger email code panel. I'll put that in the right as well here. We have two options. Okay. So if we want to go ahead and say dot, we can see that email contact, this will trigger an email to the CRM side. Email member will actually trigger it to the member email on file. All right. So just want to be clear about that you have two options here. So if you want to use email member, you're going to have to use email member with a member ID. Now let's go ahead and try and run this thing and check this thing out. All right. So I went all the way through all of that stuff. Oh, and before you actually go ahead and test this thing out, just remember to put export default trigger. Okay. We're going to default this whole entire object to export out as a default. So let's go ahead and minimize that. And all right, so let's go ahead and preview this thing. Okay. So if we click subscribe, as you can see, it is not doing anything right now. It's not running any code because that is blank. It is not valid. So that valid will show up as a Boolean, which will be false. All right. In this case, we don't have anything that shows what it should be doing. But in this case, we can click inside here and let's go ahead and put in a testing email. All right. So let's go ahead and click subscribe. All right. And as you can see, it actually submitted the email and then wait 15 seconds and it should change right back. All right. As you can see, it changed right back. And my email address is gone. Great. So now that it sent the triggered email, let's go ahead and check the email out in my inbox. So as you can see, we have all of our information here. It says, hi test. Thank you for sending over your email, all this stuff. And then it says at contact@yourdomain.com. And also you can come down here and you can actually check out the link here. As you can see, the link is a link. Okay. So if we go ahead and click on home, it will take us to that specified link that I had in there. And that was my website. And as you can see, the email thing works and boom, it sends it straight to my website that I had on my variables list. So if I go back real quick, you can see where I had specified that link 1 here, and it actually worked. It actually took us straight to that site. And that link is here, right here in our variables. And if you had a hard time following this tutorial, head on over to my website for further explanation of the code. I'll definitely put the link in the description below. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Definitely give it a shot. And if you have any questions, drop them below. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like this video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you aren't already. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. All right, ciao.